guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Yasmin. I'm a 21-year-old mom to 3 baby girls, and we're gonna be talking about my birth stories in this video, as you guys can probably tell by the title. Before we get into this video, I'm in the car with my sister Venice. I was supposed to film this video at home today, but I forgot I had to drop my grandma off at a doctor's appointment like an hour and 2 hours away from home, like super early this morning. So it's like only 10 and we were up at like 6:30 driving here. And yeah, so Venice and I are stopping at the mall right by like her doctor's office for, it's like a procedure that she has to get done and like is going under anesthesia, so I have to drive her back. So I decided I would just film this video here because we might as well get it done while we're waiting. And I'm excited to film it. So first off, the reason I'm filming this video now, because I already did like a birth story about my birth with Millie, but I kind of want to come back to it and talk about it again and talk about all of my birth experiences with Layla, Analia, and Millie and compare them all now that I've had more time to like process and compare all of them. And also recently I posted a TikTok, like actually a couple months ago, I posted a TikTok about something that happened during my birth with Millie. Sorry about any background noise from my sister. Yeah, I posted this TikTok about it and it like blew up all over the internet for some reason, just like recently. It was on all these different accounts. So I wanted to kind of come on here and like retell the story, because obviously that TikTok was like a shorter version. Before we get into the story, I also want to bring up what happened recently in our government, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, because as much as I try to leave like controversial politics off of my social media, this is something that I'm not just gonna ignore. First of all, a lot of people sometimes have like assumed that I am like against abortion because I have my kids, which is not true. It has never been true. I've always been extremely pro-choice, and I'm devastated about what happened, in shock and disbelief, and like cannot believe what is happening in our country right now. It's terrifying, especially as a mom to 3 girls, especially having little sisters. Luckily, you know, like we live in a blue state, but like it could be bad for a lot of women in this country. As far as my personal experience goes, like I love my kids and I like love being a mom, but it's not something to take lightly, and it's not something that I would ever wish to be forced upon any woman. Giving birth, going through pregnancy, and all of that stuff is like, it's intense, it's a lot, and it should never ever be something that's forced on someone who doesn't want it. I just wanted to say that before we got into this video and make sure that that's clarified. Anyways, now I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my experiences with my birth from Layla to Millie. So the video that went viral and went around the internet recently about my birth story with Millie was about the doctor that delivered her yelling at me to be quiet, and the TikTok about it like kind of just like randomly blew up. So I'm gonna obviously talk about that in the story with Millie. This same doctor I've had throughout all my pregnancies. So I went to a doctor's office that like they have a whole bunch of different doctors that work there, and like whoever is gonna be delivering your baby is like random based on like what day and time you end up going in and like whoever's on call. And I always ended up with the same doctor, who never was really my favorite. There was always like random little issues. She just wasn't a super like personable doctor that I don't know, I felt super comfortable with compared to the other doctors at my doctor's office. With Layla, obviously I was super young and I didn't know what to expect with going into labor. So I was like 39 weeks pregnant. I was supposed to get induced a week early because there was some like minor complications with my pregnancy with Layla, but like they kind of had resolved themselves, but they still wanted to induce me a week early. Being pregnant, I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to be pregnant a day longer than I have to be. So like I'm gonna get induced as soon as they'll induce me. Now I would like never want to be induced. I would always like wait for the baby to come naturally. But at the time I like was like, I really want to be induced. So I was supposed to be induced on a Monday, which was June 11th, which ended up being Layla's birthday. And that Sunday night, I went into labor like on my own. I did have my membrane swept that Friday before, and basically after that, I just had kind of like cramps and like lower back pain, but never like really felt contractions until my water broke that night. It was like 1:45 in the morning, and the back pain started getting really bad, and then my water just popped and broke. I was living with my aunt at the time, so I woke her up and was like, my water broke, like we gotta go. We were right down the road from the hospital. Got there at 2:45, got into the room, and everything just started progressing super rapidly. I was like, I think they checked me and I was like 7 centimeters dilated, and then within like 20 minutes I was like at a 10 and like in full-blown labor. Because it all happened so quickly and it was the middle of the night, I guess, the doctor, the same doctor, did not make it to Layla's birth. I was telling them, you know, I was like, I feel like I have to push, I feel like I have to push. I had never done that before, so I was like just kind of listening to my body, but also thinking like I don't know what I'm doing, so like kind of trusting what they're saying. And they were like, oh no, like, you know, you were just at 7, like you're definitely not ready to like actually be pushing right now. But I was like, no, I really feel like I have to push. And then they checked me again and they're like, oh my god, there's her head, she's coming out. And then the nurse just delivered her like right there, and she came out super quick. It was like 2 pushes, and yeah, it was intense. I was in complete shock because I mean, like, I was expecting that I was gonna have like way more time and I was gonna like get an epidural and all this stuff, but it just like went like that and my body just did it, and I was like, how the heck did that just happen? Like, I was literally 17. It was like the most insane thing ever, but there was like no problems. I tore like a little bit, and the doctor walked in like shortly after she was born, then came in and like stitched me up and everything. And you know, luckily there was no problems because like it was the nurse delivering her and there wasn't a doctor there. Like if there was complications, that could have been bad. And my hospital that I had my kids at also doesn't have a NICU, which like always kind of scared me. So that's what happened with Layla's delivery. It's pretty much the story. It was like pretty fast. Afterwards, there was no problems or anything, and she was a healthy baby. Then with Analia, I would say like my pregnancy and delivery with her was probably like the hardest of like my 3. With Anna, since I had gone natural without an epidural with Layla, I decided that I wanted to do the same with Analia. I remember I was at the hospital for a lot longer with her delivery than I was with Layla, because I kind of like actually was having contractions that were building up compared to with Layla, it was just like the back labor. So with Anna, like I actually knew I was in labor ahead of time, but it was also kind of the middle of the night. I feel like it was like 4 or 5 in the morning that we like went to the hospital. Logan's mom stayed with Layla. We had my friend Autumn with me, who was like in nursing school at the time and is actually a nurse there now. So we went in, and that one was like a lot more like hard and long and intense. I had to walk around the hospital for a little bit having contractions to keep my labor like progressing. That same doctor was there and then switched shifts like right before Analia was born, so it was a different doctor delivering. It went pretty smooth with her as well, but it was just like, you know, like a little bit of a longer process. I remember they broke my water at some point with my delivery with her, so it didn't like break naturally. Honestly, there wasn't anything super like crazy with Anna's birth. It was pretty smooth, and it was just that it was like longer and more intense and like painful, I feel like, because I didn't really experience like a normal birth or like labor with Layla. Yeah, so it was pretty chill, I guess. Then with Millie. So by the time I was having Millie, I felt like I was a lot more like experienced with giving birth and everything, because I mean, I just had done it twice, so like I kind of knew more of what to expect, and that the differences in like my births with Layla and Anna, like I had more of a range of different expectations, I guess. So I knew again that I was gonna do it natural. I actually considered having a home birth at the end of my pregnancy because I don't know, I just like really wanted to try to get to experience that, because you know, we think Millie's our last baby, so wanted to get a chance to experience that. But by the time I had thought about it, it was kind of too late to find a home birth like midwife or doula. I had like messaged a couple people and nobody really would take me that late in my pregnancy, because it was like really the last like month that I started to consider that. So obviously I ended up going to the hospital, and honestly I feel like my labor and delivery with Millie, other than this doctor, was the most peaceful. And I feel like my labor and deliveries like really are exactly how my kids' personalities are. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh yeah, and also all of my babies came right around 39 weeks. So Layla was like 6 days before her due date, Anna was like 4 days, and Millie was like 2 days before their due date. So like they all came right around like 39 to 40 weeks. So with Millie, I woke up at like 6 in the morning. That night before, I kind of was feeling some minor contractions, and I was kind of like expecting it might happen. And it was November 10th. She was born on 11/11, so like November 11th. I was like a lot less in a rush than with my other pregnancies. Like my other pregnancies, I was like, I want to be done, but this time I was like trying to enjoy it till the very end, you know. Anyways, I woke up that morning at around 6, felt a few contractions, and like immediately knew that I was like actually in labor this time. Everyone was asleep. I walked around for like a couple hours to like keep it going. I like just did all the last minute like cleaning up the house. I finished painting a dollhouse that I was painting for the girls, and I was just like so peaceful and happy. Even like the painful contractions, like I was just like so ready for breathing through them, and like I felt so prepared, which is awesome, except this woman just ruined it for me. So basically, finally, I was trying to wait out my labor as long as possible at home, because like I would much rather labor at home than like in the hospital. And the hospital was right down the road from us, so I wasn't like really worried about not making it there. So Logan's mom came. I literally was vlogging this whole thing. so it's like on my channel. But we get to the hospital. By the time I'm in my room, it was like about an hour before Millie was actually born, so it was about an hour in there where they're kind of like checking me in, and I explained this whole experience from a personal standpoint. Like, my personal physical experience with Millie was great, but the hospital was just like, it was kind of disappointing. I immediately asked for water when I got in there, and that's something that, like, a woman in labor asks for water, like, they should get water immediately, and it took them like 20 minutes 30 minutes to like bring me water, and I wasn't hooked up to an IV or anything either, so I'm like, hello. And I wasn't being rude, like, I'm not a confrontational person, so I didn't say anything until like 20 minutes later, and I was like, could my fiance just go grab me water? And yeah, that was like a disappointing thing. Next thing, they had one of their nurses, I guess it was a new nurse, checking how dilated I was, and they were like teaching this woman how to do it on my body while I was in labor. And I think she was explaining like, oh, I'm not a new nurse, I'm just new to like labor and delivery, or like something like that. So it made me feel like a guinea pig, and I was in labor with my baby. Like, that was super, like, felt super violating, honestly. Like, I did not like that, because also they didn't tell me what they were doing. I just remember they both come up and like start checking how dilated I am, and the one girl's like, oh, this is how you do it, and you explain it. And when the new girl did it, it was super uncomfortable. Okay, so yeah, I felt super violated by them doing that, and that was weird. Anyway, then they're like just kind of getting all my information, hooking me up to the machines and all that stuff, and I decided, just because I had like kind of done a little bit more research on, not more research, but I follow a lot more like accounts that talk about like natural birth and stuff, and I had a little bit more information on like how I wanted to be in labor. So I wanted to be on my hands and knees versus like laying on my back like while I'm laboring, so like gravity kind of helped with the progression of labor. And I was up on my hands and knees for like as long as I could be, while after they were like connecting me to machines and all that stuff. And within like a few minutes of doing that, my water broke, so definitely recommend that to help with the progression of labor. And I was just like up on the bed, like, if that makes sense, like on my knees, and like my arms like up on the bed because it's like tilted up. So yeah, that definitely helped. And then after my water broke, I turned back over. A lot of people actually, like, I've heard, like, prefer to deliver that way as well, like with like natural home births, which makes sense. But obviously in a hospital, I don't think that I would be able to do that, and God, especially not with this doctor, I could not imagine even asking for that. So I turned back over to give birth to Millie, and from when my water broke to when she was born, it was like about a 10-minute period. I really only pushed a few times, and while I'm pushing, I'm obviously making noise. I'm like, I want to say moaning. That sounds weird. That's kind of how it is. When my sister was born, I was there, and my mom still, I think, had an epidural. She was screaming way more than like I even was. I've heard and seen way more intense, dramatic, crazy screaming at a birth, and I was just like making a little bit of noise. Like, I really was not being that loud. And my doctor, in the middle of me pushing, says in the most rude way, I'm gonna need you to be quiet so that I can hear. I was like, what the fuck? So I completely lost track of my rhythm. I was in a rhythm of like pushing with my contractions. I completely lost track, because when she told me that, I tried to like kind of stop and hold back. Completely messed me up. And then I like almost like didn't know what to do for a couple seconds there, and everyone was starting to panic, and it got like super intense. I was scared, and then one of the nurses snapped me back into focus and was like, just hold your breath and push. And I just like looked up at the ceiling and just like pushed Millie out, and it was done. But I was kind of furious, like not outwardly, but like inwardly, I was furious about the way that doctor treated me. And luckily with Millie, I didn't tear. With my others, I did just like a little bit, but nothing too bad. To add to all of this, after I give birth to Millie, you have to deliver your placenta after you give birth, which was one thing that I didn't know with like my first one. With Layla, I like had no clue that was the thing, and then like I had to give birth again. I was like, oh shoot, like. Okay guys, I had to stop filming this video earlier today because my camera kept overheating, which was weird. I have been a YouTuber for 4 years and don't know how to use my vlog camera. I think I was talking about the delivery of my placenta. I might have been past that, but I think that's where I was. After Millie was born, the doctor comes and is like shoving on my stomach, trying to force my placenta out. Like I said, I totally like, I always forget that like you have to do that after you give birth, which is like the worst, because you finally have your baby and you're like holding your baby and like seeing your baby for the first time, and have to do it all over again, and it's like kind of sucks. But it definitely is easier than delivering a baby. So obviously your body still is like contracting, and it kind of comes naturally, but the doctor came and was like shoving on my stomach, trying to get my placenta to come out faster, I guess, because as soon as it was out, she was out of there, and we did not see her again. Like, I did not see the doctor once again. She didn't come back to like check on us and be like, oh, how's the baby? Like, not once. So yeah, she just wanted to get out of there, which is great. Good for her. Anyway, that was pretty much my birth experience with all my kids, and I'm so grateful that they all went smoothly. All my girls were born without like complications for them, and they were healthy, and I pretty much didn't have any like serious complications either. But yeah, so that's the story of all three of my births. I guess I never clarified this, but my first, I was 17 when she was born. My second, I was 18, and my most recent, Millie, I was 20 when she was born. And I feel like they were all pretty similar, just as far as like everything that I did. Like I like had them naturally and like tried to labor as long as possible at home and like that kind of stuff. But yeah, so those were all my birth experiences, and I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. I don't think we're planning to have any more kids, but in the future, if I do, I 100% want to try to do a home birth and like prepare ahead of time, like the whole pregnancy for it, and have like a home birth midwife and doula and all that stuff, especially just after having such a negative experience with the doctor delivering my baby. And again, I just want to say at the end of this, like even after just talking about all of it again and thinking about all of it again, the age that I was at when I had all of my kids, regardless of how young I was, like I will never regret having my kids. You know, I do think all the time about what my life could have been if I didn't choose to be a mom, but the intense life change that came upon me becoming a mom at 16, obviously, I could never imagine being forced on someone, which is what terrifies me about the fact that states are now allowed to ban abortion, which is terrifying, especially raising girls, especially with little sisters. And I wish that there was something that we could do to change what just happened. I want to find out like what more I can do, what more we can all do, and I just hope that abortion continues to be accessible for the people who need it for the most part. Obviously that's going to change, and that's not going to be the case in a lot of places, which is heartbreaking. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my birth stories again. For those of you who maybe haven't heard it before or didn't know all of these details about it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below if you guys haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. Check out my socials down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. I'm gonna put as many resources as I can about everything going on with the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the abortion ban in my description down below as well, just for anyone who might be watching this and like need resources or help. Anyone that ever comes to me about, you know, being young and pregnant, or finding out they're pregnant and feeling like they're not ready to become a mom, people always come to me, and I always make sure the first thing that I tell them is to know what their options are and not let anybody else influence the choice that they make. They have to do that themselves. For me, I almost decided I wasn't going to keep Layla, and had a lot of different people, you know, trying to push and pull me in different directions, and I ultimately had to make the decision myself. Obviously decided to become a mom, but I'm grateful that it was my choice and not something that I was forced into. I do have a lot of people that come to me asking for help on how to make that decision, and I just pray that everyone that I just put in that position in the end is able to have access to all of the different options. Thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.